Good morning from Dandyland Studios. My name is Joey Helpish, and this is your cup of Helpish. So today is the first time I have a call-in guest. I had an epiphany, epiphany. That'll be funny later. I had an epiphany that, oh my gosh, I have this board and I have too many devices, so I can have people call in and stuff. So, today, Dusty Bodine, aka Dusty Bubbles, is going to be talking with us about making his first album during the quarantine. And he is not only a buddy of mine, but also a student. And he's working on an album called Inspired by My Friends. And the title track I got to do a verse on. So this is Inspired by My Friends by Dusty Bubbles, who we're going to talk to in a moment. Morning, Chris.
My friends, this one goes out to you from me. You inspire me, like all the time. I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends. I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends. I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends. I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends. My friends, they don't try to be cool, that's what makes them super cool, that's what makes them super cool. Authentic in their arts, authentic in their smarts. What a privilege it is to have so many friends I can call on a dime. They inspire me to rhyme, in touch with themselves, it is so beautiful how encouraging they are, practicing the lessons of KRS1, a peace, love, unity, and having fun. I really hit a home run when I found this crew. I practice acupuncture, make music too. Always feel supported and I move like a tortoise. Slow determination increases fascination. About the people who love me. About the people who love me. I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends. I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends. I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends. I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends.
Spread love like a virus. Ancient message like it's written on papyrus. What I'm feeling out of touch like King Midas. Interconnection that lives inside us. Calls me up and says, hey buddy. When inspiration isn't covering the rent money, just remember to breathe and love nature. There's more to us than you can scribble down on paper. We be juggling a jam in a fire, dancing. Singing beats. Good morning to the famous DJ. Shouting love, shouting light, shouting louder than the hating. Sharing stories of the stories we're making.
I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends. I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends. I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends. I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends. I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends, I'm inspired by my friends. I'm inspired by my friends.
Good morning, buddies. Please smash the share button. If you're just joining us, we're checking out Dusty Bubbles, a friend and student of mine. I was on that track. Now, not only is Dusty on this track, but my friend and member of the family Jules, Yoko, is on this song. This is my favorite off the album. This is Kings and Queens, and we're going to talk to Dusty Bubbles in a moment right after this. Peep it.
The laughter and the tears, the joy and the fears, the yin and the yang, the words and the song, no separation, that's our foundation. Our rebellion is slow, every day we say whoa. Lessons from anxiety, we can breathe finally. Lessons from anxiety, we can breathe finally. Embracing uncertainty, and we're doing it artfully. embracing uncertainty, and we're doing it artfully. We wake up to write, we wake up to sing, and then we touch our hearts, and we know that we are kings. We wake up to write, we wake up to sing, and then we touch our hearts, and we know that we are queens. Can you tug on our heartstrings? It helps us spread our wings. We gotta stretch our hamstrings. Let's go to the hot springs. We're just having fun, feeling bright like the sun. Our work is never done. Our work is never done. Excess is insanity. Success is humanity. Excess is insanity. Success is humanity. We're weird as shit. We all are, we all are. Let's just commit, yeah, and be weird as shit. We wake up to write, we wake up to sing, and then we touch our hearts, and we know that we are kings. We wake up to write, we wake up to sing, and then we touch our hearts, and we know that we are queens.
Yes, yes, yes. And hey, while we do this interview today, we're going to be listening to some of Dusty's beats in the background. So let's bring this guy in. Also, say hi and please share this. Okay, let's see if I can find the right dial. Good morning, Dusty.
Good morning, Joey.
How are you?
I'm so good.
Sweet.
So exciting to get up and do something new.
You've got 2 interviews today, huh?
I have 2 today.
Yeah.
It's like I've never done podcasts before, and then all of a sudden you do 2 in one day.
Doubling it up. Okay, so I have so many questions. There's so much that I want to share about you to people. So first, let's go way back. Let's go way back. Let's talk about your journey with music, kind of leading up to you deciding to take lessons through Dandyland. And let's just kind of talk about that, because you have been there the whole time. I've seen your face for 15 years or something.
Right.
But never, on a stage or in front of a mic, really, until some people have gotten to see that in the last few years. But kind of take us through that a little bit, and your connection with hip hop, your connection with local music over the last decade and a half.
Yeah, well, my connection to being that face in the crowd is that for the longest time, I did a lot of film and video of all these legends in Eugene, like you and Marv and many others, Reeval Jar.
The Reebs.
Yeah, the Reebs. And, I was just a kid that was like totally curious and totally in awe of these musicians, the musicianship and the performance. And it always got at my heart. And I was really blessed to get a position on a film crew that was going on tour with KRS-One around the West Coast. And that was my first big introduction to conscious hip hop. And watching KRS-One do his thing on stage and create unity of, bringing up, different people to freestyle, bringing up, B-boys. And then after a show, I got to be backstage and he would just hang out. There'd be this big long line and people would come talk to him. They called him the teacher. And he would just riff with them. And I was just so wow, I love this conscious hip hop. It's like what's been in my heart, which is just unity and love and bringing people together. I've always freestyled as a way to move energy. Like I've always had music playing in my house, always. And I've always wanted to do it. It's always been a dream of mine. And I'm an acupuncturist, and I practice something called 5-element acupuncture. And I started writing these songs that were based on 5-element theory, that were based on Chinese medicine theory. And I called you, Joey, because I had all this. I'm a teacher as well, and I've had all these requests, like, please make more Chinese medicine hip hop, because I only have a couple songs. Please make more, please make more. So I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to make music. Now's the time. I have a buddy. I keep seeing him on the internet. He says he teaches people music, and he makes beats. So I called you, and I was like, Joey, I have this idea. I want to make a Chinese medicine hip hop album. Can you help me? And you're like, sure. And you're like, but first, you must learn music.
Yeah, you got to learn to speak it. That's my whole thing.
Yeah.
So you got to know, if you're going to make stuff with me, you have to know how to talk to me. So
exactly. I thought you were just going to, make beats for me. And you were like, no, you're going to make them, dude.
Yeah. So let's pull back a little bit, because on our first kind of talk, and we were setting up and getting ready to start a term, you were looking into buying a Mac, and like all the time, I just did this with somebody. I'm like, have you considered an iPad? And gave you the reasons why that's a better way to go, especially for music production. And then we had our first, session, our first class, and you sent me this awesome, little writing thing, this little, journal entry. Because when you left, you were shook. You were super shook because I said the phrase "make something terrible" about 100 times, like I do, and I could tell after the fourth time I said it, it was not a comfortable premise for you, because you make dope shit, and especially with your clinic, there's a lot of perfectionism that has to happen, things have to be perfect.
Right.
In certain ways, and so it's a really hard concept. And when I was like, okay, here's how you go through and make a beat with a couple chords, now make 30 of them, and they're all gonna suck, but you're gonna do it anyway. And then you sent me this thing, and maybe you can kind of paraphrase a little bit, but it was really beautiful, the self-awareness that was going on, and the sitting with bullshit that happened.
Yeah, well, that's been a practice of mine for the last 10 years, I'd say, is learning how to sit with bullshit, learning how to sit with terrible emotions that we, put in quotes, terrible. And, I had just immense amount of anxiety when I left your apartment and left your studio for the first time. Because we tried to make beats that day, and it was so fucking hard.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I have a baby on the way, and I teach and I run this clinic, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I trying to make music right now? I need to be making money. I need to be protecting. I need to get ready for the big slowdown, that kind of thing. What am I doing? And I had this so much anxiety of do I have the time and space to learn something new? And I paced, and Brooke was my wife at the time. She was out of town. And I for
just so we're clear, she's still your wife.
Fuck you. So then I paced back and forth in my apartment, just full of anxiety. But the thing that what I wrote about was about how I knew this was part of the process. Even though my body was doing all this physiological change of panic and unknown, I know that that's the nature of anything new. The nature of anything that we start new, the nature of it is difficulty. That is within it.
That is a thing.
So I was like, well, let's just be with this difficulty and keep going. And then,
well, then 3 months later, you put out a mixtape. That's that's the end of that.
Insane.
The end of the term, you put out a 1 hour, which we're listening to in the background right now. You put out a 1 hour beat mixtape because you made 150 beats. Yeah, that's incredible. And your knowledge, you're musically literate. Probably at if I were to compare it, maybe a fifth to seventh grade level when we're talking about literacy, but like that's enough to make things. And like now you're like you just started high school. You got your first high school project with the first album, right? It's like you're doing a really good job of showing the process. So 3 months in, you became a beat maker, and then we were ready. And so that's what you spent this term that has just ended. You spent working on an album that is now called Inspired by My Friends.
Is it an album or is it an EP? I haven't been sure.
An EP is an album, and both words are 15 years out of date.
I'm a fifth grader.
Right.
Literature. Right? I don't know these things.
EP. So let me give you a breakdown of this ridiculous terminology. Okay, an album is, you think of an album of photos, right? It's a collection of things. But when we first started with music, we had a single. We didn't have an album. We just had one. We just had records big enough to put one song out, and then a B-side. So one extra song that wasn't quite as cool. Then we had bigger records, and they were called, instead of a single, they were extended play. So instead of just one song and one other song, you had your single and then 5 to 6 other songs. So extended play, extended from the single. Then an LP, which is long play, which was a bigger record, and you could basically fit an EP on each side. And so, so that's the terminology. Yeah. So anyway, and then the shit gets interesting, and I'm really interested in sharing this story with people for a lot of reasons, but like right as the term ended, the pandemic started. And like the week we knew that you were going to start recording things, but we thought you'd be coming into this room, and I would be making it alongside of you and doing my coaching thing, still coaching you, but socially distanced, and you killed it, and you've put a lot of time into it. But at the same time, while you've been working on it and being creative, shitty shit has shitted upon you. So would love for you to talk as much as you're comfortable talking about what's happening with the business and kind of the setup to you being alone in your house, making this album.
Yeah. I also want to go back just a little bit further to when you said you were like, all right, well, you're going to record this at home now, because we're not going to be able, you're not coming over here. We're not going to go in each other's homes. And you're like, so what I want you to do this week. Oh, actually, no, that was before that. You had just said, I want you to try to recording by yourself.
Yeah.
This is before we knew the quarantine was going to happen.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You were like, I want you to try recording by yourself. And I did that, and I had so much anxiety again. And Joey's really good at pushing his students into anxiety, knowing that they can handle it.
Yep.
Because because he said that, he's like, you're going to get super anxious when you try to do this by yourself, and I want you to experience that anxiety.
Yeah.
And I had another freak out where I was like, what am I doing? This is what is going on? Just Joey knows how to push the buttons of his students in a sweet way.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. So then the quarantine stuff started to happen, and the shelter in place, and it became, Joey was like, I think you can record this by yourself. And I had already purchased a microphone, and I had purchased sound isolation, which is just this little box with foam that you stick your head in. And we did this online session like this, like we're talking now. And he told me everything he knew about home recording in 3 hours, and I wrote it all down and just went for it. And in the midst of this, my clinic that Brooke and I own with another doctor, we had to shut down. We're a very busy clinic, and we do a lot of therapies. We have IV therapy and several other kind of therapies, and so we're therapies based, and we do primary care. And so, when your therapies go away, which are a lot of your income, it's hard to continue to staff and continue to pay your staff. So We wanted them to make sure they were taken care of, and we knew they could get unemployment. So we had to let more than half of them go, knowing that the dream would be that we could hire them back when this is all over. But it's just such an unknown. But for years, I think it says there's a line in the Kings and Queens song that Yoko's on, and that line is embracing uncertainty. And I had written that line in that song before all this, and that's just something that I've always practiced, because it's uncertainty that brings us anxiety and makes us feel weird. So learning how to be with that uncertainty, even though there's all this stuff going on. And in the beginning, I was like freaking out. I was like, how am I going to get the creative juice and the oomph to do this? And is this really worth it? Like, there's people that are sick and dying, and I'm here wanting to make music. Is there a better way I could help? I had all those questions going through. And when I first started recording, I just didn't like any of the takes because I think I was still hadn't processed what was going on. Yeah. But then when I felt like I knew that to embrace it, like, I don't know why I'm doing this yet. We'll find out.
Yeah, that's a good. I don't know why I'm doing, but I'm doing it. It's happening. This is a thing. Yeah. This is a thing that's happening. I mean, I think the quickest answer to that is that you have to. What else are you going to do? And creating art is a tremendous act of generosity, even if it's whack. Because it's kindness. It's kindness and it's generosity. And every time you put that into the world, it changes the world for the better. So how has the process been? Being shut the fuck inside and and just, kind of having to, you built a little kind of altar around your microphone.
Yeah. Yesterday, Brooke was like, "Are you going to take this? You going to take this down yet?" I'm like, "No, this is here till the quarantine's over."
Yeah. Yeah. So how's that been? Because you've had a lot of time. So your wife has been at the clinic a lot.
Yeah.
You had a lot
she's
of time
doing a lot of telemedicine.
Yeah. So you've had a lot of time at home by yourself, like so many people have. And you've created every day ish, right? You haven't created you've taken some breaks. I think right now you're kind of on a little creative break because you just finished all the recording.
Yeah. On a break right now. And, I was still reaching out to a lot of my patients. I practice acupuncture. But I also feel that there's a lot of value in just being a grounded force for somebody. So I was offering free 15-minute, 30-minute phone calls for patients if they just wanted to FaceTime with me and talk about what's going on.
Yeah, just to stay connected.
Yeah,
at a time where everybody has been so disconnected.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I would set up a few of those a day, and then in between I would record. And then it was last Friday. Yeah, last Friday I was playing music, and it's Friday, I'm like, let's party. So I was just like dancing and playing music in my apartment. And, I usually have this rule where I don't create past 8 p.m. because if I do, I won't go to sleep. And, usually I have a life where I'm teaching and I'm seeing patients. So it's very important that I stick to my routine. And I was trying to get Brooke to dance with me, but she's 8 months pregnant. And she's like, kept putting on like little acoustic songs. And I'm like, no, that's not the vibe. And then she went to bed and I was like, ooh, I want to record. Ooh, I have a microphone and I can do that. And I'm by myself and I can record. And I ended up staying up till 5 a.m.
That's awesome.
Recording all night long. And that's pretty much every take you hear on the album is from that.
Yeah, that's most of your takes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I had handfuls of takes on each song before that,
Yeah. So now you're done. And you just sent me the rough mixes. And today I get to see you, but not feel you.
Yes.
You'll be hanging out on my, so I promised I would not only mix the album for you, but we're going to do a call and I can teach you the mixing. Your mixing is, very impressive so far, but I can't wait to show you some things. But, we were trying to figure out how that was going to happen. And we tried,
emailing the GarageBand files that didn't work. And so you're going to come airdrop them to my iPad from my back porch. Hopefully we get some hilarious photos through the glass window on the back porch.
Yeah.
Of us touching hands.
Yeah.
And then this thing will be done really soon. And then obviously I'm going to push you to keep making stuff. But then right after you birth this baby, very soon there will be another baby birthed. A baby boy. A baby Bubbles. And that's so cool. It's like you get to you're kind of in the cycle of birthing things, and I hope that just keeps happening. So before we end this thing and we tell the most epic story of this whole thing that we have cleverly avoided till the end about what you did with Yoko, don't want to talk about it yet. Is there anything that you want to say to people right now as far as creativity and making things, and just maybe a little sanity to get through this fucking crazy time?
Yes, definitely. There's so many different roads and paths you can go down when you're not feeling, yourself. When you're feeling just not right. Like there's either kind of irritation or anxiety or worry or anger or any of those things. And I would say often the secret to having that move is creativity, creating something, doing something, writing about it, talking about it, dancing, those kinds of things. It's about the creative process or using your hands, like build something. Like we often try to process things, like process emotions by, if I take it, if I have this alcohol or if I do this thing or I do this thing, it might go away. We try to make it go away. You don't want to make it go away. You want to learn from it. It has wisdom in it. And I think creativity has that ability to move that emotion out. And then it also makes you playful. And that playfulness and playing and not being so serious, taking delight in life, just creating will help move things. And as you start to move things, that is the basis of my practice in Chinese medicine and 5 element, is that stagnation causes pain and disease. So when we don't let ourselves experience these emotions or use them to transform them through creativity or through building something, if we don't do something, if we don't actually pay attention to it, it has a more likely of a chance that it will stick around and cause more stagnation in the body. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all of those things can cause stagnation. So create, and it's like what you said earlier, Joey, it's an act of generosity.
Yeah.
You're not being selfish when you create. You're serve the art, as you like to say.
Right. The serve the song is not only what you should do every time you write a song, but also it's a metaphor for life. Serve the song. Okay, so before we tell my favorite quarantine story, I want to read some of the comments that have happened. First of all, the famous BJ says, she quoted you. What was it? Excess is insanity. Some chick named Brooke Bodine says the Dusty laugh. There it is. And some other chick named Kirsten, also known as Lady Helpish, I'm so proud of you pushing through the discomfort, Dusty. You honored the process so completely. We all... Oh, why isn't it... No, here we go. I'm just going to do this thing. Nope. It's not letting me see all the comment. Well, Kirsten said nice things. And the famous BJ says again, ride the crest. Ron Bodine, I have a feeling you know that person. This is so much. This is so much fun. Love the joy you both have in your voices. That is a true thing that we get to do at least once a week for a couple hours. We both love this stuff. Okay, so let's talk about Yoko. First, I'm going to do a little bit of a setup. I don't know if she's on here yet, but you're probably hopefully watching this
after the fact. And Yoko, you were my hero for so many reasons. So I'll give this giant backstory a little bit. Some of this I don't even know if you know how I met Yoko.
No.
So back in the day when I was doing the Uncle Nancy thing, Just to Make It Happen was this crew of a bunch of friends of mine. And one of the guys, Ethan, we actually grew up together. And he had started playing with me and Bunny a little bit. We had started sort of softly forming a band, but we were both doing other things. And then there was this group called Genus Pro, who I was pretty close with those guys, especially this dude that went by Marv Ellis. And the group had disbanded. Genus Pro had broken up, and Marv was starting his solo thing. And right when that happened, I had this thing called the Church of Nancy at the Downtown Lounge. And Laffa Taylor, Marv Ellis, and basically everybody that became the Family Jewels and Keegan Smith's band and parts of Marv's band. There was like 15 people on stage this one night that I was able to get everybody to come. And the next day, Marv, I love it when Marv would get inspired, and he started talking about building his band. And so he started building this band called the Imaginary Friends. And we would go practice at his house. Big Peasy was in the band. I mean, that lineup just changed and changed and changed all over the place. But there was a cello player, and her name was Yoko. I never really met her before. I knew a lot of the people that she knew. And one night after band practice with the Imaginary Friends, I was writing this album called Lovely. And she sat in with me while I played the whole album for like all the band and stuff. We were all hanging out, and it was beautiful. And then we started playing together, and then she basically joined my band, the Family Jewels, as they were forming and stuff. Flash forward over a decade later, and you and I were talking, and I was like, hey, all your friends are like Family Jewels. You can low key do a like Family Jewels album. I don't think Ezel got on this album, but I'm sure he'll be on the next. And then I got to do some stuff. I got to be on a song, got to play some guitar. And then before the quarantine had happened, you and Yoko had talked about her playing cello on a song. And I want you to just tell us what happened post-quarantine after the stay-at-home order had happened. You guys still went ahead and did it. She still got on the album. So just walk us through how you guys did that and what that day was like.
Yeah, there was so many plans that were setting forth before the shelter-in-place order, and then we just had to do that. So yeah, Yoko was going to be on the album, and it was a few days before Portland did the big order, and I drove over to her house with all of my recording gear because she didn't have a microphone. And I said, before that we had a phone call, and I said, I think I can just bring over my microphone and my iPad, and I can set everything up, and I'll disinfect it all. And you can just put it up in your room, put the microphone and just play. And so I went to her place. We sat 6 feet apart from each other in her backyard. I pulled out my iPad. She had never heard the song yet. And so I played her the song. And I was like, it's in the key of C. The root motive of that, name drop, Joey Helpish, is love. So, just feel love when you do this, Yoko. And Yoko officiated my wedding, so she gets it. I was like, love, love, love. Just feel love. That was my 5th grade musician skills. That's how I talk to my people that are helping on my album. I just give them emotions and feelings as direction.
It translates so much better than the other bullshit.
And so then she, we did FaceTime, and I screen recorded the whole thing. It's awesome. It's her and I FaceTiming for 25 minutes, and she did, 4 or 5 takes. And, it was just so good. Like, I was holding back tears when it was happening, because the cello just is so emotive. It's just so, I love the sound. And her first take was the best. And we ended up like that track. Maybe we should play it again on the way out.
I'm going to play it as soon as we're done talking about it.
Yeah. She, that whole, that's like her whole first take with like, you know, that was the second time she heard the song.
Yeah.
She's good what's like on the album.
Yeah.
It was incredible. I was just like, what? And so I barely edited the thing. You know, I had planned to like, you know, make 4 bars of the cello or 2 bars and then just
chop it up and loop it.
Yeah, that was my plan. That was what we had talked about. But when I kept listening to the just take in its entirety, it felt like her and I it's like a duo, you know, where we're ripping off each other.
That's exactly what it sounds like when you listen to it. And, I remember telling you like, well, this is how the process goes. You have somebody record and then you take and you chop up the loops. What I forgot to tell you is that you're working with family jewels, right? So one of the things about Uncle Nancy and the Family Jewels is that we were one take champions. We never rehearsed. We only played. We just did. We started off doing shows with songs that had not ever been written. I would write down not a set list, but we'd make up choruses before the show.
Yeah.
And I would just freestyle the entire thing. And what I forgot to tell you also is that like I'm used to working with a variety of musicians all over the spectrum. And so I'm used to this concept of, well, just record a couple takes and I'll go in and I'll find it. What I didn't tell you is I have never done that with one Family Jewel. They just do it. And especially Yoko, always her first or sometimes her second is the one. And I will give her 3 to 5 takes, as you did, just to make sure that she feels comfortable that we got enough. But knowing the whole time, like, yes, not only is the first take awesome, I just got 5 takes that'll turn into 20,000 beats later. Which I hope you just make a whole Yoko album out of just that one thing. So we are going to play that song before we're out. Thank you, Dusty, so much. And thank you guys for watching. We're not quite done yet. I got a few things to say after I play this song. But thank you so much, Dusty. This has been rad.
Thank you, Joey. Thank you.
All right. So, please share this. Please, share it. People need to hear this conversation. I think people need to know that people are making stuff and that they're supposed to make stuff. Anyway, this is Kings and Queens, from Dusty Bubbles, from his upcoming album, inspired by my friends, featuring Yoko Honey Silk.
The laughter and the tears, the joy and the fears, the yin and the yang, the words and the song, no separation, that's our foundation. Our rebellion is slow, every day we say whoa. Lessons from anxiety, we can breathe finally. Lessons from anxiety, we can breathe finally. Embracing uncertainty, and we're doing it artfully. Embracing uncertainty, and we're doing it artfully. We wake up to write, we wake up to sing, and then we touch our hearts, and we know that we are kings. We wake up to write, wake up to sing, and then we touch our hearts, and we know that we are queens. Can you tug on our heartstrings? It helps us spread our wings. We gotta stretch our hamstrings. Let's go to the hot springs. We're just having fun, feeling bright like the sun. Our work is never done. Our work is never done. Excess is insanity. Success is humanity. Excess is insanity. Success is humanity. We're weird as shit. We all are, we all are. Let's just commit, yeah, and be weird as shit. We wake up to write. We wake up to sing. And then we touch our hearts. And we know that we are kings. We wake up to write. We wake up to sing. And then we touch our hearts. And we know that we are queens.
Boom. That was Dusty Bubbles, aka Dusty Bodine, with his song Kings and Queens featuring Yoko Honey Silk from the album that we're going to be finishing up this weekend, called Inspired by My Friends. And thank you, friends, for joining me. We're almost done-ish. I got a couple things to do before we end the show. First of all, I do this every morning on Facebook Live at 8 a.m., the Morning Cup of Helpish. And then it's available afterwards on Facebook and YouTube, and soon, very soon, a podcast called What the Helpish. Every night at 7, I do a musical performance-y thing. Same thing on Facebook Live, and it's available on YouTube. And eventually the podcast called What the Helpish. I also have a book called What the Helpish Volume 1. And every morning I read something from it or future volumes. And this is one that I've read twice, actually, I think, on the show, but it just seemed really appropriate. So I'm going to read it for you. You are meant to create. You are a work of art that was created to make works of art. I don't care what your religious stance is, not today anyway. That's a topic for another moment. But I do want to talk about the Bible, specifically the beginning of the book, Genesis. The very first lines tell a beautiful story of what humanity is. It uses words to create an image of its main character, God. It takes you through the process of creation. It works really hard to create an image in the reader's mind of God as a maker of things that did not before exist. And then it ends this section with telling us that God created humanity in his own image. It's important to focus here. The book doesn't try to convey that God walks around on 2 legs and has some big white Santa beard. The book conveys the image of God as an image of creation, and then says that we were made in that image. We are creators. All right, let's leave the Bible alone for a minute, and let's address this same issue from a different perspective. What separates us from other animals? Are you getting it yet? We make things that have never existed before. We are creators. Not only do we unique animals have this ability to create, but also the ability to share and build off of other creations. I think it's the coolest thing ever. Now, you're more than welcome to disagree or even argue. Bring it. But you are meant to create, to innovate, to daydream, to problem solve. All of us are. Forever. To not create is to go against your human nature. So, make stuff. Boom. All right, so I'm going to talk about a couple things and then we are out. I'm here every morning at 8 a.m. doing Morning Cup of Helpish. I am here every evening at 7 p.m. doing what I think is going to be called the Helpish stream, which is just me just musicking into the ethers in a sort of 30 to 60 minute stream. I'm doing free music lessons and free song therapy. If you don't know what song therapy is, I'm doing that all this week. If you don't know what song therapy is, it's where we make an appointment and over text, video, or audio, I try to get you to rant. And you can pick any topic you want, or you can just rant in general. And in about 15-ish minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, I will translate your thoughts and feelings into a song. And the whole thing is done in 30 minutes. And then I send you a video file of me singing your song and playing it on the piano. That is free all week. So please holler at me and get that scheduled if you want to do that. And also, if you've got a kid around that's got a music instrument and they're stuck at home, please holler at me. I want to help them. Speaking of helping kids, there is a tip jar in the description of this video, a little digital tip jar. So there's a link to my PayPal, paypal.me/dandylabs. More on Dandy Labs coming soon, by the way. But paypal.me/dandylabs. And if the spirit moves you, you can throw a few shekels. Something I haven't been good about talking about, but I am trying to get better about, is where that money goes. Where it's always gone. Every time I get a tip or a donation, it goes into the Dandyland Scholarship Fund. Dandyland Studios is the online school and song therapy clinic that Kirsten and I run. And there are plenty of people, especially now, who can't afford our rates, even though we try to keep it as low as possible. And so this thing happened since I started live streaming a couple weeks ago, every morning and every night. We raised, just with random tips from you guys, we raised $200, and we were able to pay for a whole term of weekly music lessons for a kid who really wanted to sign up with us, and I really wanted to work with her, but her parents just lost their income because of the shutdown. And so I was able to pay for the next 3-month term, which starts next week, completely with the money that you guys donated. And the reason why I'm talking about it more is I want to do it again. And guess what? 2 days ago, I started talking about it, and I was like, hey, we paid for someone's term. We've already raised $100. The term's $200. We've already raised half for the next kid that comes along, which I'm sure plenty will. So please, if the spirit moves you, you can hit up my PayPal description. The link is in the description. You can also just send it to me in Facebook Messenger, which I love, because then I get to thank you in Facebook Messenger person, not in real person, because don't come near me. Yeah, so, yeah, that's about it. I will see you guys tonight at 7. If not before, I might be trying out some things today on live, but I'll see you at 7 tonight. I'll be performing some music. Hugs and wishes. Have a dandy day. Stay home. Stay. Let me try that again. Stay home. Stay safe. And I love you. Peace.